Welcome, wanderers, to another descent into the nuclear abyss, where even apex predators become prey. Today, we witness what happens when the galaxy's ultimate hunter meets Earth's nuclear graveyard, where radiation rewrites the very meaning of predator and prey. Imagine a being bred for the perfect hunt, armed with technology that bends light itself, arriving on Earth only to find that humanity's greatest achievement was self-annihilation. The predator came seeking worthy prey among super mutants and Deathclaws, but the wasteland had other plans. Every trophy taken carried radiation that corrupted cellular structures. Every kill brought mutations that transformed hunter into hunted. The honor code means nothing when reality itself has been poisoned by atomic fire. In this testimony, you will hear how even the perfect predator becomes just another casualty in the wasteland's collection. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. The distress beacon from my ship still echoes in this irradiated sky. I am Yautja. I am the hunter who has stalked prey across 1,000 worlds. But this world, this broken Earth, it breathes differently than any hunting ground I have known. The readings were wrong. My ship's computers calculated a thriving civilization, worthy prey with advanced weapons. Instead, I found ash, nuclear winter. The stench of radiation so thick it interferes with my biomask's sensors. My landing pod crashed near what the scattered survivors call the Capital Wasteland. The year, by their primitive calendar, is 2287. The first thing I encountered was not prey. It was aftermath, a settlement called Megaton, built around an unexploded atomic weapon. The humans worship their own destruction. They nest inside the very thing that ended their world. My thermal vision showed their bodies riddled with radiation damage, cells mutating even as they spoke their prayers to the bomb. These were not warriors. These were walking corpses who simply had not realized they were already dead. But then I saw it. Through the toxic fog, through the green-tinged air that makes my breathing apparatus work harder than it should. A creature 9 feet tall, muscles twisted beyond natural proportion. The humans called it a super mutant. It tore through a trade caravan like tissue paper, laughing as bullets bounced off its hide. Its voice was thunder. Its rage was pure. This was prey. I engaged my cloaking field and moved closer. The technology stuttered. Something about the background radiation interfered with the light-bending matrix. Instead of perfect invisibility, I flickered like a mirage in the wasteland heat. No matter, the hunt does not require invisibility. It requires skill. The super mutant wore scavenged armor, carried a weapon they call a minigun. 6 rotating barrels of primitive projectile fury. When it spotted my shimmer, it opened fire without hesitation. No fear, no questions, just violence. The bullets sparked against my armor as I moved, each impact registering on my mask's display. This creature's strength exceeded most prey I had hunted, but strength without discipline is merely noise. I extended my wrist blades and closed the distance. The first cut severed its weapon arm at the elbow. Green blood sprayed across the irradiated soil, hissing where it landed. The mutant did not scream. It laughed harder and swung its remaining fist with enough force to shatter concrete. I ducked, spun, drove my blade up through its chest cavity. Only when I removed its heart did it finally stop laughing. My first trophy on this dead world. I began the ritual cleaning when I heard them approaching. Humans in powered armor, bearing an insignia of gears and swords. The Brotherhood of Steel. Their leader, a paladin named Dance, saw my flickering form standing over the mutant's corpse. He saw the green blood on my blades. He saw technology beyond his comprehension. He wanted it. The Brotherhood speaks of preserving technology, keeping it from those who would abuse it. But I saw the hunger in their eyes through my mask's emotional spectrum analyzer. They did not want to preserve. They wanted to possess. The Paladin offered an alliance, help them hunt the Institute's synths, and they would share intelligence on worthy prey. The Institute, another faction, hidden underground, creating artificial humans. Prey that could think, adapt, mimic. Interesting. But first, I needed to understand this wasteland's ecosystem. The apex predators here had adapted to radiation in ways that defied conventional evolution. The Deathclaws. Even their name promised worthy hunting. The Brotherhood scribes spoke of them in hushed tones. Genetic experiments from before the war, refined by radiation into perfect killing machines. Fast enough to outrun vehicles. Strong enough to tear through power armor. Intelligent enough to set ambushes. Have you ever wondered which of the wasteland's corruptions would claim them first? Drop your theories in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone in thinking about this. I tracked a Deathclaw pack for 3 days through the glowing sea, where the radiation readings exceeded lethal levels for most life forms. My suit's medical systems worked overtime, flooding my bloodstream with anti-radiation compounds. But something else was happening. The ambient radiation was not just damaging, it was changing things. My mask registered anomalies in my own cellular structure. Minor at first. My healing factor, a gift of Yautja biology, was working differently here. Faster in some ways, wrong in others. The Deathclaw Matriarch stood 12 feet tall. Her hide had a greenish luminescence from decades of radiation exposure. She had killed 17 Brotherhood patrols according to their records. When she detected my approach despite the cloak, she did not flee. She charged. The impact knocked me through a ruined storefront. My cloak failed completely, sparking with electrical discharge. She was on me before I could stand, claws raking across my chest armor, finding the joints, drawing phosphorescent blood. My blood glowed here. Everything glowed here in its own way. I fired my plasma caster point blank into her chest. The wound cauterized instantly, but she kept coming. Her nervous system had adapted to ignore pain that would drop most creatures. I switched tactics. The smart disc severed her tail, reducing her balance. My net launcher tangled her legs, but it was the wrist-mounted computer that gave me the edge. I had been analyzing her movement patterns, her radiation-adapted biology. When she broke free and lunged again, I was already moving. My combo stick extended, catching her through the throat at the perfect angle. She died, looking at me with intelligence I had rarely seen in prey. Almost respect. I took her skull. The bone was denser than anything in my collection, infused with isotopes that would make it glow for centuries. A worthy trophy. But the hunt had cost me. My biomask's medical readout showed cellular degradation at 7%. The healing factor was not just working differently, it was working wrong. The radiation was rewriting the rules. The Brotherhood watched from a distance. They had seen me kill something that had haunted them for months. Paladin Dance approached again, this time with an offer. There was a synth, a Corsair, operating in the ruins of Boston. Institute technology at its finest. Artificial human, stronger and faster than baseline, equipped with stealth technology that rivaled my own. If I could eliminate it and bring them its chip, they would provide coordinates to something they called the Museum of Witchcraft. Another Deathclaw, but different, mutated beyond the others. A true apex specimen. The Corsair's trail led through downtown Boston, through ruins that whispered of nuclear fire. My mask detected synthetic pheromones, artificial but precisely calibrated. This prey could hide among humans perfectly. The Institute had created something that challenged the very concept of hunting. How do you track something that can be anyone? The Brotherhood's intelligence was flawed. They spoke of one Corsair. I found evidence of 3, working in coordination, using the city's surviving population as camouflage. When I finally cornered the first one in Goodneighbor, a settlement of ghouls and outcasts, it knew I was coming. The synth moved like liquid mercury, its reflexes exceeding human limitations by orders of magnitude. Our battle destroyed half a city block. My plasma caster scored hits that would have vaporized organic tissue, but the Corsair's synthetic skin simply reformed. Its laser weapon, modified with Institute technology, actually penetrated my armor. The beam did not just burn, it corrupted. My mask registered unknown particles infiltrating the wound, trying to rewrite my tissue at the molecular level. I adapted, used the environment, lured it into a rad storm, where the lightning and radiation interfered with its sensors as much as mine. In that green-tinged chaos, we were both half blind. But I had hunted blind before. The Corsair had only ever relied on its technological superiority. When my wrist blades found its primary processor, hidden behind synthetic ribs, it spoke one word before deactivation. Fascinating. The Brotherhood took the chip but watched me with new wariness. The wound from the Corsair's weapon was not healing properly. Instead of closing, it was spreading. Black veins traced across my chest where the Institute's weapon had struck. My healing factor was not just failing, it was being reprogrammed. The radiation and the synthetic corruption were combining into something neither species had encountered. Elder Maxson himself came to observe me. The leader of the East Coast Brotherhood stood in his powered armor, surrounding me with a full squad. He had heard of my kills. The Super Mutant, the Deathclaw Matriarch, the Corsair. He made an offer that was clearly a threat. Join them officially, share my technology, or be classified as an abomination to be purged. I showed him my trophy wall. Each skull I had taken glowed with its own radiation signature. Ghoul skulls that still whispered rad counts, mutant bones that pulsed with FEV markers. The Courser's synthetic cranium that still processed data fragments. Maxson understood then. I was not here to join anyone's war. I was here to hunt, but the corruptions were accelerating. My biomask's medical suite registered cellular mutation at 32%. The combination of radiation, FEV exposure from the mutant's blood, and synthetic corruption from the Courser created something unprecedented. My blood no longer glowed, just phosphorescent grain. It shifted through spectrums, sometimes appearing as liquid light. The Museum of Witchcraft waited. The Brotherhood had not lied about its occupant. The Deathclaw inside had been exposed to a unique combination of radiation and pre-war experiments. It stood 15 feet tall, its hide covered in bone protrusions that resembled armor plating. The locals called it the Savage Devil. It had killed anyone who entered its lair for decades. The building itself was a tomb of failed hunters, Brotherhood knights, gunner mercenaries, even super mutants who had tried to claim the territory. Their bodies decorated the walls like trophies. This creature understood the display of kills. It was not just an animal, it was a fellow hunter. When I entered, it was waiting, not hiding, not ambushing, standing in the main hall, surrounded by its kills. It had heard of me too, the wasteland's new predator. It wanted to test itself against something new. The fight lasted 2 hours. We brought down 3 floors of the building. My plasmacaster overheated and failed. Its claws shattered my biomask's left sensor array. I could no longer properly track motion on that side, but I learned its patterns. Every creature, no matter how mutated, has patterns. When it committed to its final charge, I was already moving. The Combistic found the weak point where its bone armor had cracked from our battle, through the gap into the brainstem. It died instantly without suffering. A death worthy of such prey. I took more than its skull. I took its claws. Each one naturally evolved into something sharper than my own wrist blades. The radiation in them registered as lethal to most life forms. But I was no longer most life forms. The corruptions had progressed too far. If you had their power in the wasteland, would you choose NCR, Brotherhood, or stay neutral? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading them. The new California Republic had been tracking me since I entered their territory near the Mojave. Their rangers, elite snipers trained to impossible precision, had observed my hunts. President Kimball sent an ambassador with a different offer than the Brotherhood. They did not want my technology. They wanted my skills. Caesar's Legion had a monster, something they called the Beast of Denver, a creature that had survived the city's radiation and feral dog packs to become something worse. The NCR believed it was a Deathclaw variant. They were wrong. When I reached Denver, the radiation readings exceeded even the glowing sea. The beast was not a Deathclaw. It was a human who had undergone a unique mutation. Not ghoulification, not VV, something older. The pre-war government had tested something here, something that interacted with radiation to create directed evolution. The beast stood 8 feet tall, covered in bone plates that grew from its skin like armor. Its muscle density exceeded even super mutants, but it retained human intelligence, human cunning. It had been hunting Legion slavers for sport, decorating the city with their remains. It understood trophy taking. When it saw my collection, my skull trophies glowing with radiation, it laughed. A sound like grinding metal. We did not fight immediately. Instead, we compared kills. It showed me its collection. Legion Centurions, NCR Rangers, Brotherhood Paladins. It had hunted every faction equally. It asked, in a voice that barely resembled human speech anymore, why I still limited myself to one form. The radiation could free me, it said. Make me more than Yautja, more than hunter. Make me the wasteland itself. I realized then what it truly was. Not prey, a mirror, a vision of what I was becoming. The corruptions had reached 58%. My mandibles had developed secondary joints that clicked in patterns I did not recognize. My blood could melt through steel when exposed to air. The healing factor was not healing anymore. It was transforming. The beast attacked when I refused its philosophy. The battle leveled 6 city blocks of ruins. Denver burned with green fire from our blood mixing with the ambient radiation. My weapons were failing one by one, corroded by the hostile environment and the beast's acidic secretions. But I had the Deathclaw claws now, grafted to my armor, irradiated to the point where they cut through molecular bonds. When I finally severed the beast's head, it was still laughing, still insisting I would become like it. The trophy I took was dangerous to even carry. Its skull emitted radiation that killed lesser creatures within minutes. But I was no longer concerned with radiation. I could feel it now, like a secondary nervous system spreading through my body. The NCR tried to pay me with caps and supplies. I took neither. Instead, I demanded information. The Institute, the source of the synthetic corruption that mixed with the radiation in my veins. They told me of a place called the Glowing Sea, where the Institute sent failed experiments to die, where the bombs had hit directly, creating radiation so intense it had its own ecosystem. There, they said, lived something even the Institute feared, a creature they called Father's Mistake, a synth prototype exposed to massive radiation, FEV, and an experimental virus meant to rewrite DNA in real time. It had been adapting for decades, becoming something that violated every natural law, perfect prey for something that was itself becoming unnatural. The Glowing Sea welcomed me like a brother. My corrupted blood sang with its radiation, each step deeper into that green hell feeling like coming home. The Institute's failed experiment waited at ground zero, where the bomb had created a crater that still pulsed with atomic fire 2 centuries later. Father's Mistake was no longer recognizable as anything that had once been synthetic, or human, or even terrestrial. It stood 20 feet tall, its form constantly shifting, flesh flowing like liquid mercury infused with radiation. Eyes opened and closed across its surface, each one a different species design: human, Deathclaw, Super Mutant, even compound eyes like the rad scorpions. It had been absorbing and integrating every creature that entered its domain. When it spoke, it used 1,000 voices, all the prey it had consumed and integrated. Among them, I heard Yautja words. Another of my kind had come here before me, had hunted, had failed, had been absorbed. It offered to show me his memories if I would simply allow it to touch me. To complete what the wasteland had started, I understood then. This was not a hunt anymore. This was convergent evolution. 2 apex predators shaped by the same forces, meeting at the point where they would either destroy each other or become something unprecedented. The battle could not be called a battle. It was transformation itself given violence. Every wound we inflicted on each other accelerated our mutations. My plasma caster's energy was absorbed into its mass, making it glow brighter. Its radioactive secretions ate through my armor, exposing corrupted flesh that no longer needed protection. We fought for 3 days without stopping, neither of us capable of dying in any conventional sense. On the first day, the Brotherhood arrived. Liberty Prime itself, their restored pre-war robot, marched into the Glowing Sea to eliminate both of us. The machine threw nuclear warheads like spears. Father's Mistake and I stopped fighting each other long enough to destroy it together. Its nuclear payload only fed our transformation. Elder Maxson watched from vertibirds as his ultimate weapon was torn apart and absorbed. He ordered a full retreat, declaring the entire region a permanent exclusion zone. On the second day, the Institute deployed coursers, 12 of them, armed with experimental weapons designed to destabilize molecular bonds. They lasted 4 hours. Father's Mistake absorbed 8. I took 4 skulls that were already changing, synthetic material becoming something organic and wrong. My trophy collection had become part of me, skulls growing from my shoulders and spine like additional sensory organs. On the third day, we reached the center of the crater, the bomb's ground zero, where reality itself had been wounded by atomic fire. Here, the radiation was not just energy, it was information, the universe's source code, corrupted and rewriting itself constantly. Father's Mistake had led me here deliberately. This was not a battle, it was a synthesis. The creature spoke with the voice of the absorbed Yautja. He had been like me, a hunter seeking worthy prey, but the wasteland had taught him something our species never understood. Sometimes, the greatest hunt is not to defeat prey, but to become something that transcends the concept of predator and prey entirely. My corruption had reached 93%. My form was no longer stable. Extra arms grew when needed, dissolved when not. My vision existed in spectrums that had no names, seeing through time itself in stuttering fragments. The past, where bombs fell. The present, where we fought. The future, where something new emerged. But I still had 7% of my original self. The part that remembered the honor code. The part that understood what it meant to be Yautja. And that part made a choice that Father's Mistake had not expected. I activated my ship's self-destruct sequence. Not the wrist device, which had long since fused with my mutated arm, but the orbital command, using codes burned into memory that transcended physical corruption. My ship, still in orbit, began its descent, a controlled crash that would impact at our exact location in 17 minutes. Its power core would create an explosion that would vitrify the entire crater, turn it to glass, trap us both in atomic obsidian. Father's Mistake howled with those 1,000 voices. It had wanted transcendence, not imprisonment. It attacked with fury that shattered the ground beneath us, revealing pre-war bunkers full of screaming ghouls who had hidden here for centuries. We fell through layers of history, each one radioactive sediment from different eras of the wasteland's corruption. In those final minutes, I hunted not for victory, but for meaning. Each blow I landed carved away another piece of what Father's mistake had absorbed, releasing the essence of everything it had consumed. Super mutants, ghouls, deathclaws, coursers, even that previous Yautja, their fragments scattered into the glowing sea's eternal storm, finally free from the collective horror they had become. My ship's impact turned the sky white. The explosion was visible from the Commonwealth to the Capital Wasteland. When the dust settled weeks later, NCR scouts found the crater had become a smooth bowl of green glass. At its center, two forms frozen mid-battle, transformed into radiation-infused crystal. Still alive, according to their instruments, still conscious, still hunting each other in whatever dimension we now inhabited. The Brotherhood declared the site forbidden. The Institute sealed all research into the incident. The NCR posted permanent guards, but the Raiders tell different stories. They say on nights when rad storms are strongest, you can see us still fighting in the glass. Two creatures that forgot what species they started as, locked in an eternal hunt that has no winner, no loser, only continuation. The wasteland had collected its ultimate trophies. Two apex predators who came to hunt, but became monuments to the nuclear fire's power to transform everything it touches. The Brotherhood scribes would later write that we had become the wasteland's warning, that some corruptions run so deep that even the greatest hunters become prey to them. But I prefer to think of it differently, in those fragments of consciousness that still persist in the glass. We became what every hunter secretly desires, not victorious, not defeated, but eternal, forever pursuing the perfect kill that always remains just out of reach. The wasteland did not defeat us. It transformed us into itself. Pure violence without purpose, pure hunt without end. Sometimes through the glass, I can sense other predators approaching the crater. Deathclaws that sense something wrong, super mutants drawn by the radiation. Occasionally another off-worlder who heard the legends. They all turn back, not from fear of us, but from understanding. Seeing what the wasteland does to those who think themselves apex. How it makes everyone, everything, equally prey to forces that do not care about honor or skill or technology. The children of Atom come sometimes. They worship at the glass crater, saying we achieved division, their holy transformation. They leave offerings of radiation-soaked meat that seeps into the glass, feeding whatever we have become. They speak of the day the glass will crack, releasing us to hunt the wasteland forever as beings of pure atomic fury. I hope they are wrong, not because I fear what we have become, but because the hunt is perfect as it is, frozen at the moment of ultimate conflict, where every possibility exists simultaneously. Victory, defeat, transformation, destruction, all of them and none of them, forever and never, in the green glass that holds the wasteland's greatest truth. Everything that enters this dead world becomes part of its eternal dying, even death itself,